Hello, Seattle. Welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Am I Ron or am I Don? Which one are you? We both look the same, but one of us sounds like an even bigger douchebag.
It's me. I'm the one that sounds like the douchebag. I don't know if I'm Don or Ron.
One of us is Ron. What do you think about all this hate for Amazon, Ron or Don?
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Guys, this isn't the Ron and Don show. It's a Greg and Colin show. No, it's Seattle Sucks, but it's just us. Just you and me. This is Seattle Sucks, episode 10. I'm Greg.
And I'm Colin.
We also look exactly alike. And in this case, Colin's correct. He is the bigger douchebag.
Yeah, I won't even dispute that.
Man, here we are. What's going on? What were we going to talk about?
We're going to start with the goings on at the old Slog.
Oh, the Stranger. You know,
Slog the Slog.
Flog
the Slog.
I read The Stranger. I read Slog every day for like the 5 years I was in Los Angeles. Just like, I didn't follow LA politics at all. I didn't give a shit. I kept up. I would read the fucking restaurant reviews here. This isn't like the major restaurant review. Everything I would just follow like I was still here. I would tell people about how great Seattle was. If any of those people could hear me now.
Oh man, yeah.
But the thing is, The Stranger is basically, for all its sort of, countercultural ethos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reflective of like the divide on the center left that we're all going through now, but it basically is, in a lot of ways, a lot of the voices there toe this very like milquetoast centrist liberal line, and one of the recent stars of that is Katie Herzog. She blew up today this week. What was this? This is July. Yeah, this is just less than a week ago. She blew up this week. This article she wrote got a lot of play on, just the internet, I'm guessing. But, it showed up. It was weird to see The Stranger show up on, like, my, like, weird/left Twitter feeds,
Yeah.
Yeah,
when Crank T. Nelson has something to say about your alternative weekly, you've done something wrong. So, he did one of the awesome comparisons to drill tweets. So all he did is he put up a picture of the Slog headline, which is the left's mischaracterizations of Jordan Peterson will make his followers turn right.
Oh no, someone's being mischaracterized.
And then he's juxtaposed that with this drill tweet that says, "Go ahead. Keep screaming shut the fuck up at me. It only makes my opinions worse." Which is kind of, as we will see, Katie Herzog in a nutshell.
Jordan Peterson. So hopefully, if there's any justice, if your life is on track at all, you have no fucking idea who this guy is. And you shouldn't. And even talking about him on Slog and now this podcast is really degrading to everyone involved. But he's this... He's one of the stars of this batch of like pseudo-intellectual right-wing reactionary loons who he's like a logic professor. Like he's one of these guys. He started out his like blogs and got a lot of play for him like refusing to do trigger warning. He refused. He's like refuses to give trigger warnings to the snowflakes and like.
I thought he was a pronoun guy too. He refused
that was a big one. That was he refused. He made a big stink about refusing to use people's preferred pronouns and like so basically he's just a reactionary like, no, the world can't change, we can't do anything better, and I'm not gonna just a lot of bullshit. But now he's become this cult figure who a lot of fucking losers look up to and look to for advice on, like, his basic advice is like, stand up straight and clean your room and like be manly. And it's part of this whole like alt-light movement that says that the reason none of these like exurban white losers aren't getting laid is because, and there's a lot of them in America, is because of feminism, basically, and modern secularism, etc., etc. And so he's just a reaction. But it's just he's a right winger. He's a reactionary. It's the same old shit, just in a slightly different package that comes in like a Jim Henson voice in this case. Yeah. So really, to even like to engage with him or defend this, or argue with this guy is bad enough. But Katie Herzog felt she needed to take it even a step further.
We'll start with her characterization of Jordan. So it says, so we're skipping a bit because this is very long and quite dry and boring. So if you'll allow me to quote myself, Jordan B. Peterson is a controversial Canadian psychologist and University of Toronto professor who burst into international fame through a massively popular series of YouTube lectures on psychology, personality, personal responsibility, which must be cleaning your room, right?
Yeah.
And a bunch of other shit that doesn't really seem like it would go viral on a platform more famous for Justin Bieber vids, as I wrote in a recent review of his live show in Seattle. He's huge, with YouTube views in the millions and fans across the world who show up to his events, read his books, even the big one, which she doesn't care to name, and shell out money for his self-help programs. Some people, like my colleague Rich Smith, hate him. Others, his many, many fans, love him.
Okay.
Well,
so she's not wrong. Yeah, he's very popular, and it's very sad and disturbing.
Yeah. And the two camps cannot seem to agree on the basics. The haters say Peterson is racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, etc.
It's called an analysis.
Yeah. In response,
he doesn't have to actually say those things for it to be true.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't have to announce himself as a racist,
to be
or a misogynist to be one. He's absolutely a misogynist.
Yeah, there's no doubt at all. In response, the fans say, "Okay, where's the evidence?" This is largely where the conversation breaks down.
So, the fuck what? Who the fuck cares if that conversation breaks down?
She does.
These people, his fan. I mean, Jesus Christ. Oh God, we'll get into why I don't give a shit and why I think giving a shit is fucking stupid. But go on.
Okay, where's the evidence, right? So this is largely where the conversation breaks down, because despite the man's reputation for bigotry, when you ask for proof of the claims, you get lots of statements like "it's obvious," but much less actual fact.
So she's pulling straw men instead of actually just analyzing what he says.
Yeah. So she says, this morning, for instance, I was engaged in a stupid Twitter fight with a media person in LA who claims that Peterson is racist. When I asked for evidence, she sent me a link to a 2016 tweet that was taken wildly out of context. She also sent a screenshot of a Vox article that said Peterson referred to developing nations as pits of catastrophe in a speech to a Dutch far-right group. In fact, the Dutch far-right group he was speaking to was actually a conference in which both conservatives and progressives were invited to attend and debate immigration and Dutch culture, although apparently not many progressives actually showed up.
So what it sounds like is that it was a far-right conference against immigration in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Just based on that basic, I'm like, I can put it together. So what's your point exactly?
Oh, yeah, wait till you hear it, because it is incredible. At the conference, Peterson said, "When we insist that the immigrants who come to our countries to become beneficiaries of the game that we're playing follow the rules, we're not merely saying, we have a culture, you have a culture, you're in our culture, so you should follow our rules. What we're saying instead is, we have inherited a culture and it seems to work. It works well enough so that we're happy to be here, and many people would like to be, and if you want to come to our culture and be a beneficiary of the game, then you have to abide by the rules that produce the game. We're not saying that you have to do it because it's ours, or because we're proud of it, or because in some sense we're right as individuals, or even as a culture. We're saying it because we've been fortunate enough to observe what the rules that make a functioning society
God.
actually are.
Fuck off.
And
Just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Fuck. Dude, God, stop. Jesus. Shut up.
She quoted the whole
So-
thing.
Do you not understand what a dog whistle is? And do you not
yeah.
see what his worldview is? However, yeah, he's a pseudo-intellectual. The guy's a college professor. He's not fucking George Wallace, okay?
Yeah.
He's a fucking
Yeah.
like literate spokesman for the reactionary right. Like it's not gonna sound like it's not gonna like get up and shout like segregation now, segregation
Right.
forever. But you can tell what his worldview is there. These are dog whistles about, first of all, Western chauvinism, obviously.
Yeah.
And you have to put that in the context of the debate that's going on in Europe because of the massive refugee crisis. It's like, anyway, again, why defend this asshole?
I don't know. And it's like you're saying, why pick this as evidence of him arguing in good faith? Because he's not.
I'm sure. I'm like, I mean that. I don't think it's even about that. I don't give a shit if he thinks he's arguing in good faith. I don't give a shit. It's not about a good faith argument. I don't care about good faith arguments. I don't give a fuck.
Well,
Go on.
I agree with you completely, but I think that Herzog does. I think that
Clearly.
that when she sees this, she's saying, "Well, all you hear about is pits of catastrophe," but he was saying nice things before that actually kind of make sense.
Yeah, fascism
but
does
they don't-
make sense. You
right?
dumb.
But
oh
yeah,
god,
yeah, they're absurd. And
there's logic. There's a logical argument to anything. Okay.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Just
And that's what that reads like, because I've never heard any.
Again, if you're an idiot and you have no context, cultural context,
Yeah.
you could hear that and go, that sounds very reasonable. But when people say that's racist, what they're doing there is analyzing his worldview and pulling the fucking mask off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which you should do. You should be able to see through that pretty easily.
and like, but she wants to reward him for not like inveighing,
Yeah.
and like,
yeah.
like specifically inciting violence against the darkies.
Just
like,
because he's not base stick man, he should be defended by
okay,
the
all right,
left.
but, okay.
Let me read what she says after that big long quote. Referring to developing nations as pits of catastrophe may be insensitive at best, Trumpian at worst, but it's also true that developing nations do have more than their fair share of catastrophe, in quotes, both natural and man-made, including from colonialism and Western intervention itself. Peterson's statement may be pro-assimilation, but he's not saying that any one culture or society is inherently better
Fuck
than
off.
any
No,
other.
yes, I know he specifically you idiot. It's not about the words. This is such a fucking liberal technocrat like logic
Yeah.
fetishist.
Oh, totally.
It's about the rhetoric. It's about the words. Yes, he's smart enough to wind that corkscrew,
Yeah.
okay? Because he's a like
Which
the
doesn't take much, I think.
no,
It's
but
not.
it's not. So it's not about the rhetoric. It's not about the words. It's not about the logic. It's about worldview and ideology.
Yeah.
You idiot. Which is why Katie Herzog cannot understand, because she is like any other American liberal. She has no worldview,
Yeah.
no ideology beyond logic and facts and evidence-based like ways to jerk me off. I don't know. Go on.
Evidence-based racism. He's saying, if you join a new community, play by that community's rules because they probably work.
What?
Is that really grounds to scream racist? In quotes.
No, but the totality of this guy's message, which exists in fucking volumes.
Yeah, that's just one paragraph.
yeah. No, great. So you picked out some very manicured thing he said that, again, if you have any sense at all, you can
we know
pick
what
his
he's saying.
worldview out of. And that worldview, if you have any politics, and you're not an asshole, then your reaction to that worldview is that it needs to be fucking combated.
Yeah.
Because at the most generous, what you pick out of that is Western chauvinism. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And yeah, assimilation fetish, like whatever, like, you can peel back the layers of that in the context of that debate. It's, well, these people aren't going to assimilate. we need to stop letting the darkies come in from the ravaged pits of catastrophe that they're fleeing. I mean, that's actually the message.
She finishes the paragraph by saying, in 2018, I suppose, yes, as just a little indictment of everyone who's up in arms about this complete and utter fraud, like buffoon. So
yeah, he is. He is an overeducated, very mannered moron. Everything he says boils down to the old way was better. You know, the way when I was a kid, just like 40 years ago. That's when we had it all figured out. All of our entertainment and cultural archetypes were better. Yeah. The men and women's place in society were better. Yeah. It was perfect then. I mean, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, men were men, women were women. He's basically just a refined, educated Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Like
he
he couches it in all this fucking rhetorical bullshit, and he has that incredible Jim Henson lilt in his voice, but yeah, okay. What's her fucking point exactly? Why is she writing this?
Because you and I, Ron and Don, are mischaracterizing Jordan Peterson, and we shouldn't do that. We should look at the words he says, I guess, and not what the message he's trying to convey with those words.
We need to be fair to him, I think, is the thing.
Right.
We need to be fair. We need to reward him for not being George Wallace, for speaking in this high culture, technocratic, educated way, this elite way, for presenting his arguments about culture dispassionately and with academic rhetoric. We need to reward him for that. We need to let him off the hook unless he comes out and says the N-word, okay? Because that's the only way you know he's racist. We need to ignore, and we need to hear all voices. You know, we need to be open to all voices. So that includes a right-wing reactionary loon who is telling, young white loser males that the reason they're not getting their dicks sucked is because women were allowed to enter the workforce.
He's basically
we need to give him credit for that.
A MAGA Chad with a suit on that.
Yeah. And
maybe the one that figured out how to use a tool. That's about it. There's not much more there. So she continues by taking apart an open letter that was sent to Durham's local All Weekly.
Why Durham again? What?
This is just the setting for her argument that.
Was he Peterson supposed to schedule there and someone was fighting it? He was supposed to speak there?
Yeah. So.
Oh, and this is what she's upset about. This is what they all care. These fucking liberals. Yeah. Oh my God, he wasn't allowed to speak. Yeah. They got upset about they silenced a person's views. He wanted to speak in public, and we all need to be able to hear each other. It's this fetish of the exchange of ideas. Right. Yeah. No one gives a shit but you.
Yeah.
You journalists, basically, elite liberals, media types, and journalists who think it's the world. Anyone gives a shit about the exchange of ideas, or that in itself is some great thing. When it's oh my God, you need to hear someone out. We've heard him. He has books, and he has fucking thousands of hours of video.
Yep.
He's been heard.
And we know no longer to listen.
We can now pass judgment. It's over.
Yeah. We know who you are, buddy.
God, why do you care? Come on.
Okay, so she goes on to quote this open letter from Durham's local Alt Weekly that was in protest of this Peterson talk, that specifically about white privilege. It goes on to say, first, Peterson believes that white privilege isn't real. But, of course, reverse racism is, and that intersectionality is really comical, because there are an infinite number of ways in which people can be marginalized. What if you're black and female? What if you're ugly and not very bright, and gay and black and female? He asks.
I think that's what is meant by intersectionality, basically.
Yeah.
But
The list goes on. Difference is inevitable. We can't build a national ethos around accommodation, can we? Peterson goes on to explain that the scholarship around oppression is never scholarly and can never be scholarly because it is based on personal experience. Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman be damned. This DPAC is what racism looks like, and DPAC is the Durham Performing Arts Center where he was set to speak. And in a city that is 62.1% non-white and is located, to further contextualize, in a state that existed under the callous thumb of Jim Crow under the 1960s, you cannot afford to casually entertain it. We won't stand for it.
this is the letter.
This is
the
the
open letter
Uh-huh.
that then and this campaign worked, right? He got canceled. This event got canceled. We don't know. We don't
No.
care. Okay.
No, it's just that,
This letter. Someone wrote this letter.
yes.
That's what someone wrote a letter.
Yes.
Someone who had a political, ideological view decided to exercise the power they could muster against this piece of shit and wrote a letter, and she's in a huff about it. Like,
Yeah.
because logic, facts, discourse kill me.
She continues to sort of pick apart this open letter by Laura Bullard. And she says, this is where she reinvokes misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, and endorsements of rape culture, et cetera, et cetera. Bullard does, the author of the open letter. And so Herzog says, and on some of these claims she may have a point. Peterson has said that children are better off with a mom and a dad than with two dads or two moms. This isn't just contrary to the research, it also just doesn't make sense. Same-sex couples don't drink too much tequila one night and wake up pregnant. Okay. Becoming parents requires investment, planning, and sometimes even surrogacy or adoption. If people are willing to go through that process, believe me, they want to parent. So this is is where she's going, well, okay, Peterson's not the greatest guy ever, I guess. He's got some things wrong.
But see, she gets this kind of person. I'm going to get in her head and say she gets off on this too. She likes that she's defending, that she can say all these things that, yes, has these miserable views. Yeah. But I, as the higher, more reasoned journalist, that even this person, I am so dispassionate.
Right.
That I can take a step back, both acknowledging these awful views this man has, and at the same time recognize that his enemies have treated him unfairly vis-a-vis the facts.
Yeah.
This is what they get off on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah.
That somehow...
So basically splitting hairs is what she's doing.
That's it. That's if you have no worldview,
yeah.
That's what you have left to do is split fucking hairs.
Just quibbling. Constant, unending quibbling.
Oh, my God.
But Peterson's point, and you can watch him yourself, wasn't that gay people are unfit to parent.
I can't wait for
It's
this.
that children are better off with both male and female role models in their lives. This, frankly, doesn't seem all that homophobic to me, and I'm actually a homosexual. Plenty of same-sex parents make a point of having opposite-sex adults in their children's lives. There's a lot going on there.
Katie, just read that back to yourself, you fucking fool. Like, again, yeah, it's not, it's for her, it's just about the text.
Yeah.
There is no fucking subtext, right?
Exactly, yeah.
There are, in this country, people, homosexuals and their allies, who have, over many decades, engaged in the political project of normalizing homosexuality and LGBT issues in general, and working to change laws and secure rights for these people. And that political project involves identifying the ideological roots of the opposition to that progress and fucking killing it. That is what this guy is, okay? By, like, do you, this is so I don't even, like, do you... to quibble about the words, right? It's semantic to her.
It's completely.
He has, he said these words, and you can't call that. She sounds like a junior hire. Like, well, it's not homophobia because he's not actually afraid of gay people, and it's like
a hyper literalism,
right? No, that's all this is. She's so fucking like.
Yeah.
Literal.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's politics, you idiot.
Right.
These people who are trying to like harass this man and shut him down to whatever effect that is, I don't know, but like they have a politics and they're exercising those politics. They have a political project and it's to advance fucking humanity. In this case, specifically vis-a-vis LGBT rights in the world.
Yeah.
And like, you have to change the culture to do that. And this man is an agent of not changing the culture.
Yeah, he's
It's
regressive.
that fucking
obviously.
simple. God damn it! Like,
yeah, he is your enemy, and that should be very clear.
fuck.
So she finishes this paragraph by saying, "Ignorance, maybe, but hate?" About Jordan Peterson's alleged homophobia.
He's not afraid of gay people. I'm not afraid of gay people. You don't see me running and crying and burying my head in my pillow.
Well, we do see you
when
crying.
someone.
A lot, actually.
He does cry. Yeah,
But-
that's true.
He's a Canadian psychologist with a gay sidekick, not Mike Pence. So this is he has gay friends defense, I guess.
She, what?
Right? Like, so my black friend, Mike.
One of my friends are gay.
It only gets worse because she takes on
That's such like right wing like chud logic. That's so Trump logic.
Completely.
Like this idea of that's this thing of like what's that? It's like Trump, like, didn't he put out like a picture of like him with some black people and go like,
Yes.
look, I can't be racist, and
Yeah.
that's all the chuds eat it up. And that's because if you're this fucking simple, if you have this simple and childlike a mind, you think that racism that can only mean one thing, and that's that if you see someone who doesn't look like you immediately have to stab them. Like, that's what racism is. And same with homophobia. Like, if you're in the room with someone and you detect your like feeble gaydar goes off, you vomit from the adrenaline rush, and then you look for a weapon and just start fucking beating their skull in. Like, that's what homophobia is. That's what, like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
He has a gay friend.
Even worse, a sidekick, which in its own way I think is kind of demeaning language, really, honestly. But it gets worse because in the next paragraph she goes on to take umbrage with Bullard's claim, Bullard being the author of the letter, of transphobia. Bullard also claims Peterson is transphobic because he came to fame after saying he would reject this use of gender-neutral pronouns if, in quotes, compelled to do so under Canadian law. This was more a stance on free speech than trans politics. When I saw Peterson's...
If you could see my fucking face right now. Fuck. He just can keep going.
Ron or Don, you don't look well. You don't look well. This was more a stance on free speech than trans politics. When I saw Peterson speak recently, he said that he's actually never refused to use anyone's pronoun. He just doesn't want to be told that he must do it. It's a bit of a toddler-sized argument. You can't make me, but is it transphobic?
Again, same thing. We just said all this. Like, you don't get it, you idiot. Like, he became a global spokesperson for our arguments against, and it was absolutely not just a free speech. The argument he was making was never just that. I'm sure that, of course, that was in there. Of course, Jesus, they say that about everything, the right wing. They misuse the very notion of free speech. Constantly. He was arguing about, I mean, you can go back and like read and watch this shit where he's talking about like he's not going to we can't change the culture and the way we do. You can't ask me to change the language, the English, the holy English language, which, like any language, is changing fucking constantly. You can't ask us just to acquiesce to someone's, feelings about what they want to be called and the political project they're engaged in. And it's like, it is a fight, you idiot. Like, there are people who don't want to change our culture. There are people who do.
Yeah.
It's a political fight. That's what's happening here. He's on one side of it.
Yep.
And
he's
so
succeeding in pulling you to the right.
You? Yeah. You are on that same side. Yeah. You fucking dunce.
Yeah.
She's a fucking dupe, man.
The dismantling, in quotes, of Bullard's open letter continues here because Bullard decides to question Peterson about the Nazi presence at one of his talks.
Go figure.
He generally condemned the violence. Generally condemned.
She can't even...
He unequivocally... No. He generally condemned the violence.
He railed forcefully against the presence of self-identified Nazis and fascists. He refused to be seen with them. He condemned them from all sides. No, he didn't do that.
No,
just think it through, you idiot.
He took their money gladly.
God damn it.
But went on to explain, I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. Some awful people that I'm courting. I'm continually extending my hand with a little treat.
My audience is lurking in the corner.
And here's where it gets great. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way it's pushing, they are going to come. This, Deepak, is what a threat looks like. That's what Bullard is saying. This is a threat.
This is it. This is
threat.
Radicalism is the problem. It's the left that's the problem. Mm-hmm. It's the left that's taunting these people, and that's what's going to cause the rise of fascism in America. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, all right. Jordan Peterson. Like I said, it's about he courts his audience are these sort of fat ex-urban losers who just have miserable lives. They're not getting laid. These are 27-year-old virgins who
trade
are chubby,
memes,
and are on the internet,
Kyrgyzstan.
And it's there is the explanation, and Jordan Peterson isn't the only one. I mean, there's so many voices out there. Gavin McInnes for sure. The Proud Boys. All this. This is a big part of what the alt-right is all about. Is offering a message to these people, this generation of just fat millennial basement dwelling losers, and the message is it's a lot of things, but it's. And it varies from thing to thing, which is more prevalent. But on some, it's the brown people are replacing you, and that's why your life is the way it is. Yeah. Or it's feminism has replaced your power, and that's why you can't get a girlfriend because they're liberated in all these ways, and there's a sexual hierarchy and all this. And what the right is doing here, what fascist minds are doing here, is offering an explanation to these people. Why is your life in this modern world with all this wealth in America and these superhumans we see walking around, the 1%, hell, the 10%, who have these very different lives. You there who still live in your mother's basement at 27 and you've had a handful of shit jobs. You maybe even got a community college degree. Maybe you got a bachelor's degree that's worth nothing. Maybe you didn't. That just wasn't even an option for you. You're a fucking loser. The right is offering an explanation. It's a vile explanation. Yeah. It's a wrong explanation. Right. But they're offering something. And for the period over, the center, the Democrats, the liberals, Katie Herzog has offered no explanation. In that vacuum, look, America's already great. This is a microcosm of the larger thing of the misery in America. Yeah. This young man sort of sexual frustration, future denied misery is just one flavor of that. But look, the Democrat message is America is already great. Okay, that was their
Yeah.
rebuke to Trump. Okay,
Yes.
these people, they are losers, and they're being offered an explanation by the right, and it's vile. But in a vacuum of anyone saying why you're like this and what is the path forward, how do you not have this miserable life that you're on the verge of suicide? That even a bad, stupid fucking message like that is going to have some traction in a total vacuum. The actual explanation, there is an actual explanation, a materialist explanation, and that is these people are losers because they're fucking poor.
Right. Yeah. Or
They've been trained. These people have been trained to discount that, or if not that, to blame it on all these other right-wing explanations. Okay, but the truth is, we've had this enormous growth in wealth disparity in America. These communities are just poor. There are not opportunities for large swaths of Americans. They can't get girlfriends because they are losers. That's the reason. The question is, why are they losers? It's because they can't. There's no way for them to make anything else of themselves. That's what they've been offered. Low wage, go nowhere jobs and video games, and that's what they've got. This is what fascism thrives on, is whatever kind of alienation, fear, and misery. It will find a way to exploit that with whatever bullshit. It's easy, again, without any other logic to combat that, without any other argument. Whatever crazy shit, reactionary, regressive shit they come up with is going to have traction with enough people.
Yeah.
It does now, always has, and always will have a power. It has an argument.
Yeah.
There always will be that right-wing argument, okay?
It's just whether people will be so receptive to receiving it or not.
And when there's nothing else
yeah.
to offer in its place, it's gonna sweep some people up, and that's what you have here with these. So then, knowing all this, which I guess she doesn't, why defend this asshole? Does she have any more gems?
No.
Is that it?
I mean, pretty much that's it, because this opinion, open letter got some attraction from the city of Durham, which caused the mayor and the city council to affirm their values, but not calling for Peterson to cancel the event or for his event to be canceled. And Peterson responds,
fuck off. This is boring. And the point is, Katie Herzog, this is her thing, man. This is her voice in The Stranger. So the other thing...
Yeah, Jesus.
Let's just leave this article behind. I don't give a shit anymore.
6 more paragraphs.
Fuck off. Why bother? What is the point of even talking about this? So that's just that was a few days ago. But if you look just in the last few weeks, she got in on this. There's a controversy and some people expressing their political values and having some success at shutting down some movie where Charlotte Johansson's a woman. She was playing what some people consider a trans man, who was a real figure, and people had an objection to that, and they voiced their opinion, and people, of course, had the right-wing sort of internet had things to say about that, about how that the snowflakes and the social justice warriors were out of control once again, blah, blah, whatever. Again, it's politics. People have it's a political fight. Okay. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion specifically on that, except I'm potentially sympathetic. But what's fun? Katie Herzog, she cannot resist getting in. For I get the purpose solely of just fairness and the free exchange of ideas, to get in and write a whole post here, several pages of jumping in to defend some columnist in fucking what is this dog shit public? Oh, Business Insider. Fucking Business Insider. Because she got blown up on Twitter. Okay, so Daniela Greenbaum, this is how she starts the article. Katie Herzog
Yeah.
says, the headline is, columnist says Scarlett Johansson should be able to play a trans person, semicolon, chaos ensues, by Katie Herzog. Because I don't feel like getting yelled at on Twitter today, I should probably preface this by saying that I disagree with Daniela Greenbaum, this Business Insider columnist, about some things. Greenbaum, who was until yesterday a politics and culture columnist at Business Insider, says Hamas, not Israel, is the biggest threat facing the Palestinian people, and thinks it's fine to call members of the American project known as MS-13 animals. Echoing Donald J. Trump, Greenbaum, who told me she was a Republican before 2016 and now considers herself center-right, has written about these and other issues in Business Insider's blah, 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 blah. So she has to start the article going, this, reprehensible
monster. One of the ones that doesn't have a Nazi costume.
Yeah.
Is that what center-right
literally
means?
isn't wearing a toothbrush mustache.
Yeah.
Okay, so she doesn't agree with her on some things. She needs to start, but again, this is what she gets off on.
She's laying
She's
the,
like,
the
listen,
stage.
I am so detached, so objective. I have such journalistic integrity that I can even see the journalistic wrongs, blah, 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 being done to photo. So basically, people react. There was a campaign, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I think the movie did get canceled, or Scarlett Johansson pulled out of it, whatever.
Yeah.
This person wrote this thing, and a day later, it got blown up on Twitter. Again, who cares? And then Business Insider pulled the article, and that's basically what she's writing about. So here she says, retracting a column is a very big deal. No one fucking cares, Katie.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. No, it's not a big deal. It's to you. As a friend of mine and fellow trash person, Jesse Signal wrote in New York Magazine, the website is violating an important and underappreciated journalistic norm. Against retracting work in all but the most dire of circumstances. It would have been far preferable for Business Insider to leave the article up, but to explain clearly and specifically what was wrong with it, and to then publish a work responding to it.
Oh my God.
This is two journalists just jerking each
who
other off.
cares?
Fuck off. No one cares. Journalistic norms. Fuck off. Who gives a shit? Yeah, sure. Are they cowards for pulling their shit, considering Business Insider publishes rancid trash all the time? But yeah, sure, they're fucking cowards. They should be made fun of.
Oh my God.
And this person should be just degraded. What I love here is, so Business Insider says the piece wasn't up to their editorial standards, and that may be true. She even gives them the credit of it may be true that it wasn't up to their editorial standards, and that may have figured in why they pulled it, not just the backlash of. She's giving them credit for their PR bullshit. She can't help it. But retractions typically occur when the facts are wrong, or intentionally misleading, or because someone has plagiarized. They fucking oh man, oh man, that just gets her blood boiling. The thought of plagiarism, or otherwise improperly sourced material. Not because someone's opinion is deemed wrong by her colleagues. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's but she wouldn't have it wouldn't be outside journalistic norms to just not publish it in the first place because the opinion differed from her colleagues, right?
Right.
That would be within journalistic norms.
Yeah.
The editorial board got together and had the foresight to go we don't want to publish this
one.
Yeah, they should be made fun of for scrambling to whatever. So yesterday, nearly a week after the retraction, Greenbaum took a stand of her own and resigned. So really,
she fell right on that sword.
She's Katie Herzog is this is some hero worship for this journalistic, crusader who had the dignity to stand up in the face of the degradation of journalistic norms and resign, which should tell you something. Someone who can give up a job
Oh yeah.
like that,
Well,
like because her article got pulled and she got yelled at on
is
Twitter.
that even how business?
She didn't get
Insider
fired.
works?
Supposedly, she didn't get fired, which I believe. She just
She was
resigned.
just strongly
I'm not going
encouraged
to look
to
into it.
resign.
No, I mean, I not by anything. There's
Yeah,
no.
no, I'm joking.
Katie Herzog doesn't indicate any of that. She doesn't she doesn't think that's the case. So it's really just like she had this journalistic integrity, which means she doesn't, she doesn't need a job. Is my point.
Yeah.
Which that's all I'm going to say about that. What is the other one we found that was just like from a few days earlier? Oh,
yeah,
God.
about
Are we
ice?
still talking about Katie Herzog? But, like, this is so funny. So this is from July 5th. If Dems want to win, brace yourself.
Do they want to win? I'm just gonna throw
Maybe.
that out there.
They should talk about ICE, lowercase, not ICE, initialism for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Abolish ICE. It's an idea that has captured parts of the left in the way that Build the Wall has the right. Pramila Jayapal, Kristen Gillibrand, and newly minted lefty hero Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have all embraced this slogan. And as far as slogans go, it's a good one. Confident, pithy, and short enough to fit on a t-shirt. Plus, as ICE has become the face of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy for asylum seekers and undocumented immigrants, it's a big fuck you to one Donald J. Trump. So what's not to like, she asked. Yeah, what indeed? But basically, like, I don't know. She wants to get into, like, some electoral analysis here. So she says, what's not to like? Unfortunately, there's a lot. ICE isn't an old government agency, but it's a particularly odious one. Okay, so she goes on to basically state the case for getting rid of ICE. Again, she can't. She's like, which basically is, it's not an old. It's comes from the Homeland Security Act, the wonky, like, weird, fucked up reorganization of the government under the Bush administration. Yeah. And it slammed several agencies together, Customs Service and Immigration and Naturalization. They have a budget of, it's a huge budget, blah, blah, blah. She mentions that under Obama, ICE became, was ramped up massive deportation, and Obama became known as the deporter-in-chief with relation to this issue. Well, so basically, all these good reasons to get rid of them, but abolish ICE may be the kind of slogan that ramps up people with the cardboard protest signs at the ready. But the more activists yell, abolish ICE, the more Trump gloats, as he did this week on Twitter. The liberal left, known as the Democrats, want to get rid of ICE, who do a fantastic job. This is Trump on Twitter, and want to open borders. Crime would be rampant and uncontrollable. Make America great again, MAGA! So basically, like, advocating for things gives the right ammunition, and it's like, it's politics. They're going to, if you advocate for something the right doesn't like, they're going to use it in campaigns. Like, yeah.
Well,
but this is the Democrats for our lifetime is like, well, we gotta give. We can't do anything that would give them any traction, and they'll be able to put a political ad. Yeah. We gotta, like, meet them in the middle. Mm-hmm. They never give a shit. They called Obama. He tried that shit for 8 years, and they called him a Muslim African communist. Yeah. But whatever. Even though he compromised with them on everything, and he never got a single vote out of those fuckers. Yep. But she's the same liberal line of, like, watch, we can't be too radical because the tiny percent of MAGA chuds, the, like, 24% of Americans who are, like, Fox News viewers, we have to win those people over too for some reason? No, we don't. Abolish ICE and opening borders are clearly not the same thing. Oh, well, But I think in this one case, Trump may be right. Abolishing ICE is not a winning agenda. She's taking advice on electing Democrats from Donald Trump here. Yeah. You scream abolish ICE, and the electorate hears open immigration. And so there will be disagreement in an election. Oh, my God. And while I personally think that we need more immigration, not less, so maybe you should argue for that. So what she's saying is you can't campaign for something that Americans will read as more immigration. even though she's for that. This is such a liberal Dem thing.
Yeah, this was like all we heard.
This is
during the
Obama,
election.
man, right?
Well, and the Clinton, the 2016 election of, we can't have a single payer health care because it's too expensive. But we all would want that, but we just can't do it. 'Cause
Right.
Not enough people want it.
And this is our whole lifetime. The center, the Dems have never like actually taken something and led on it, tried to convince America of something. The right's done that. They've moved. She's saying right here, I want more immigration, but we can't campaign on more immigration. Why not just try and convince people that more immigration is better, you idiot?
Yeah.
Like, if we'd been doing, if there had been a very different political conversation over our lifetime, or the next next generation, then,
well, and
that's politics. You have to make an argument that makes sense to people and slowly convince them of it. I mean, you have to get people on your side. You can't always meet people where the fuck they are because the right's not doing that. The right is finding people who are vulnerable to their message in one way or another and getting them on board. Okay? Like, they're not waiting for people to come to them.
Yep.
Okay? And while I personally think we need more blah, 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 according to a Rasmussen poll released Thursday, only 25% of respondents were in favor of abolishing ICE. That's only 25% of Americans were in favor of firing an entire government agency that's charged with... That's fucking huge, man. This conversation's just fucking started. That is incredible news. Yeah. Like, that is huge. That's a very positive thing. Mm-hmm. This conversation's barely got off the ground.
That's true, yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. And there's no Democrats are pounding the pavement with this message, but a starting point of 25%, if the whole Democratic Party went out and started fucking pounding, and that's what they talked about in elections, holy shit, man. 25% is a great start. Besides, ICE is the symptom, not the disease. And even if you abolish the agency, the bad policies and bad people that enable ICE still exist. To me, it seems politically wiser to talk about rational, evidence-based, human-centered immigration reform. But of course, that doesn't fit on a t-shirt. You see, it's just, the problem here is the American people just aren't ready to have a rational, evidence-based conversation. They only want slogans and sound bites. Fuck off, you idiot! This is this lib thing, this technocratic thing of like, you can't make big change, okay? Yep. You have to yes, no, she says the bad people will still be here. The bad policies. Yeah, obviously, you idiot. Yeah, like, if a party, a group of people who aren't complete craven shitheads like the Democrats manage to get elected and abolish ICE, part of that program needs to include getting rid of all those bad policies and firing all those bad peoples. I mean, but she wants to treat like a child, like a very literal child, wants to treat this slogan like that's the only thing. Right. Like, it's just, that's the bill. It just says abolish ICE. That's it. That's what they're going to vote on. It's, no, this is a campaign, you fucking moron. This is politics. You need a big idea like this. We don't need this agency. We weren't deporting anyone till, like, basically this century. You need to start with this big thing. And yes, we literally do need, of course, we need to get rid of that agency. And whatever services they provide that do actually need to be done need to be reconstructed with a new group of people. Absolutely. We need big change here, okay? And the conversation needs to be big. It can't be a fucking white paper like the Clinton campaign. They'll go, no, we had the most progressive campaign ever. And it's like, if you look at if you go and read the white papers we have in our website, not what they talked about, not their slogans. Right. I'm with her. America's already great again. Wait, that's confusing. But no. If you go read these white papers, very complicatedly outlining the way this policy, obviously the bill needs to be longer. There needs to be a bigger plan. This is a campaign. ICE does need to go away. Yeah. All those fucking cops. I mean, these are cops. These are immigration cops. There's a reason it's called Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They think of themselves as like a federal law enforcement agency. They're like the DEA. Right. They all need to go, and yet obviously we need bigger immigration reform. That's not an art. That's not a criticism of this movement.
Mm-hmm.
You idiot.
Yeah.
Like, and to think like every American needs to have all the facts and all the ins and outs of exactly how the federal law enforcement should be structured. You're an idiot. Like, that'll never happen. That's why Democrats like can't get through. No, what you need is a movement of people with a message that people can understand and a worldview people can understand. That's what socialism is. It's a worldview that people can understand, that politicians can say, I have this worldview, and so I'm going to vote consistently. I'm going to have consistent things that you're going to understand. That if you have this worldview as well, if you've been convinced, you can say, you're right. That thing you're doing, that fits with my worldview. And this thing to get angry about, that fits with my worldview. And you're going to fix it. I mean, that's politics. You need a worldview, okay? But no, she wants white paper. She wants every American voter to bone up on exactly like the budget numbers, the exact strategies in which all this shit should be.
Become the wonk.
Yeah, she wants to live in a nation of wonks. And then she goes on to like, Democrats need a compelling message this season, but abolish blah, 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 and goes on to say they need to say it's like fix the weather or save the planet, make it about global warming. And it's like,
that's gonna really win those folks over.
Right. Again, I don't. The same people like the MAGA
it's
chuds.
A non sequitur. Like
it is a non sequitur. First of all, it should be both. It should be all of the above.
Right.
Again, when you have a worldview and not just a set of like a technocratic solutions, you have a worldview. All these things can be part of that worldview. They really can, and part of a movement.
Yeah.
Okay, you can campaign on all of this.
Yeah.
They're not mutually exclusive at all. And the thing, it's the same thing. She doesn't get. It's the reverse is true as well, because the right, this 23.5% of Americans, whatever, who are still committed to Trump, basically just Republicans, the same people who voted for John McCain and Mitt Romney, but were outvoted by a large number of Americans actually voting on the other side. The same exact people, they have a worldview they've been convinced of, and they then believe whatever they hear from people who signal that they share that worldview, period.
Yeah.
The facts don't matter.
Right.
You can't convince people of these specific facts like global warming. They have a worldview. They have sources they believe share that worldview. They're going to believe that. You're not going to convince those people of global warming. Certainly not these individual issues. You're not going to convince them to abolish ICE.
Nope.
We don't need the last like dregs of the worst shitheads in America to run this country. You just have to actually get Americans to vote. They all think, to a fucking man and woman, think climate change is a hoax, literally a hoax.
Yeah.
This is a pervasive view among Republicans, the worst people in America. Suburban, like small business tyrant shitheads who vote Republican.
Yeah.
They think it's a hoax. You're not going to convince them, and good, fuck them. We don't need them.
Nope.
You just need 30% of America to come out and vote.
In the right places.
Left.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, electoral college notwithstanding. You know, when you're reading The Stranger, understand that this attitude is also pretty pervasive. They're in their perfect vision of America, like it would be Republicans and Democrats working together to solve problems.
Yeah.
That's like the liberal, like perfect Aaron Sorkin fantasy.
Totally, yeah.
Not like people who actually want to save the planet from global warming and end racism running the fucking country and getting the country on their side and telling the holdouts to fuck off. No. Republicans who time and time again show they're not interested in compromise and are the worst people, some of the worst people in the world.
Yeah,
it
no
literally is one of the most regressive reactionary parties in the world.
Yeah.
I fucking stand by that. Anyway, that's enough. I can't talk about Katie Herzog anymore.
Yeah. Are you still there? It's us, Ron and Dawn. It's been a rough week for Councilmember Sawant. I don't know if you've seen this, Greg, but Carl Hagelund has appealed again because we've been following this saga for a while.
So, I mean, it was only like a week or so ago that the federal court came down and dismissed
Yeah.
the lawsuit he filed against Sawant because of like a poster that said like Carl Hagelin, slumlord, which he totally is.
Yeah.
We'd
And there's
like-
a picture of a rat.
We'd like to
I think.
defame him as a slumlord now as well, because he's
The shoe
like
fits.
literally like it's not like she didn't like throw a dartboard at a dart at a list of Seattle rental property owners. Like he's literally known as the absolute worst, like top of the list shitheads who rent to people, like massive just violations. He's a piece of shit. So, but go on.
Yeah, he's awful. So, unfortunately, that's going back to the courts. So
he's appealing.
It's being appealed. So this saga continues,
which is awesome because now like the right in Seattle gets to keep complaining about how the
much
city
money,
is spending money rightfully to defend her.
Yeah.
And like the person they should be blaming for filing frivolous lawsuits and continually appealing them is Carl Hagelin.
What is he? Yeah, what does he think is going to happen?
What I think he likes the attention.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
he's,
that could be.
Look, he'll end up like he'll end up running for office or something. More like shittier people have. Okay,
Yeah.
like people with worse records. Jesus, I mean, Don Blankenship, like even worse press than Carl Hagelin.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Roy Moore, and like so I would love to see. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe he could move to the South End and run against Sawant.
If she seeks re-election.
What?
So that's the big rumor, though.
Rumor coming from where? Fuck off.
So, My Northwest has been a source. I believe our good pal Jason Rance might have broke this story because he appears to have...
Okay, really
got a mole.
credible source. My Northwest and Jason Rance.
But he has a mole in the office.
He says he has a mole at City Hall.
Well, he doesn't say he has a mole, but he has been publishing stories, breaking, in quotes, stories, where he's published emails from the city council. So someone has been supplying him emails. I assume that means somebody in the city, or I guess possibly some of the recipients, though from the story that I read, it didn't look like that would be very likely. It looked like it would have to be someone from the city.
Okay.
And previously that story was about spending on homelessness because we, Ron and Don, we have a vested interest in seeing how much the city's spending.
I just think it's
on
important that
homelessness.
they show us that they're making progress with the money they've already spent before we give them more.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's about accountability.
yeah, that's
We
real-
all
that's
want homeless people to have homes.
to be ground into food for the slightly less poor.
No, Don or Ron, that's not right. That's not what we believe. So anyway, this guy on My Northwest, which as we know is highly unreliable, is insinuating she's not going to run. And part of the reason why this has been insinuated, as we talked about several weeks ago, is that there's a potential schism a rift between Sawant and unions, specifically labor unions. So mostly the context here is around the employee head tax, that her approach, her rhetoric rubbed them the wrong way. Specifically, a Teamster confirmed some anger about it.
So I mean, this is bullshit.
It's
the
probably
point
bullshit.
of this is this is like, okay, some people in unions. Yeah, there's no question that that not every rank and file construction worker was for this thing. That's a normal thing.
Yeah.
This is a capitalist system we live in. These
Right.
people it was very easy argument to make that their livelihood would be affected by any minimal dip in construction in this country. That some of them came out. This is just total horseshit, because it's not like she had ever had. They want to make this equivalency between unions and socialism, because that's the thing the right has wanted to label unions with for years, because there's this kernel of truth to it. That's where the union movement came from, but there was this thing called the Red Scare, where they fucking purged all the leftists out of the unions.
Yeah.
American union management hasn't thought of itself as leftist for fucking generations.
Yeah.
And they don't now. And to my memory and knowledge and what I've been able to look into this, like, she never had like any huge support from union management.
Yeah.
There's lots of opposition to her as a candidate, as a city councilwoman.
Yeah.
Like, they want to put out like this idea that what I'm sure readers of My Northwest think should be her most natural base is like the management of the unions and their PR people.
Yeah.
That's horseshit. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, and the details are being rumored. They're pretty thin. The My Northwest piece, which was echoing, again, Jason Rance, speculated a little bit that she was maybe going to seek a bigger, some bigger position or become an advocate on a bigger platform for socialism. But as Greg said, we have no real evidence for that. It's merely speculation, but
she's got a hell of a platform now. It couldn't really be much bigger unless she was elected to the Senate, like,
which would rule.
Like, she makes national headlines now as Seattle's socialist city council member.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're hearing all this bullshit out there, just assume it's horseshit. There's like, take
it with a grain of salt.
Like, there's nothing has changed here. Yeah, plenty of people don't like the commie on the city council. She's still won twice, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough, right? We've done our bit.
Yeah, so that was the wrap up for Kshama Sawant's week of rumor.
Yeah, you can't take her down.
No. And she's coming for your planes.
She's
coming for your middle management jobs.
Oh man, yeah.
She's coming for them. But,
we're all coming.
Yeah, so
no, we're not actually. We're just gonna keep recording this podcast and do nothing else. Anyway,
hopefully, we'll inspire you to go see his production,
or just keep listening. Yeah. Share with your friends.
Never leave your basement. Whatever. Clean your room. Maybe.
Tweet at us.
Yeah. Seattle Sucks Pod at Seattle Sucks Pod on Twitter. Follow us. Engage with us. Rap with us. Exchange ideas with us. Clean your room with us.
Yeah, stand up straight. Speak in a manly voice.
Yeah.
Like Colin and I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially me, Ron or Don. Wear lipstick if you're a lady. You can also listen to our episodes on iTunes and also on our website, which is seattle.sucks.
Yeah, wow. We did it, Colin. We did it. We did all the plugs.